All right, so are you ready for this?
I am.
We're going on a deep dive today.
Awesome.
It's all about the Yeti.
That elusive creature.
That's right, the one said to roam those snowy peaks of the Himalayas.
Roof of the world.
Yeah, we've got excerpts from a Wikipedia article about it,
Okay.
focusing on descriptions, stories,
Right.
all those theories trying to explain this elusive beast.
The mystery.
Exactly. And listen, we're not promising any definitive answers here, but we are going to lay out the facts,
Sure.
the evidence,
Okay.
and leave it up to you to decide what you believe.
Sounds good.
All right, so let's start with, the basics here.
Yeah.
Like, what are we even looking for?
Right.
What's a classic Yeti image?
Think King Kong, but with a serious winter coat,
Yeah.
large, bipedal, powerful, and covered in hair.
Okay.
But even the descriptions, they get kind of fuzzy.
Oh,
With some accounts mentioning different colors,
Mhm.
sizes, even behaviors.
Oh, interesting. It gets even more interesting, though, when you think about how Tibetan lore describes three distinct types of Yeti.
Oh, wow.
We've got the Nyalmo,
Okay.
this giant 15-foot-tall black-furred behemoth.
Whoa.
I mean, talk about intimidating encounter, right?
Yeah.
Then there's the Chudi, a bit smaller at 8 feet tall, hanging out at the highest, most remote altitudes.
Right.
Which, that might explain why sightings are so rare.
That would make sense.
And finally, we have the Rangshim Bombo,
Okay.
the smallest of the bunch, standing at 3 to 5 feet tall,
Oh, wow.
with reddish-brown fur.
So could this one, you think, be mistaken for, a known animal?
Yeah, maybe, like a bear or a monkey.
Possibly. It's a great question, though, and I think it points to a key issue here.
Yeah.
The Yeti might not be a single creature,
Okay.
but rather a collection of misidentifications and stories that have just become intertwined over time.
Oh, I see.
Even the names themselves, Mishe meaning man-bear or Migoyu meaning wild man. They kind of hint at this complex relationship between local cultures and the creatures they share the mountains with.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
And speaking of names, how on earth did we get to Abominable Snowman?
Right.
That's a mouthful.
It is?
And not exactly the friendliest sounding.
No, not at all. Well, that's where things get a little bit fascinating, a little bit of a turn.
Okay.
Back in 1921,
Okay.
an expedition led by Lieutenant Colonel Howard Bury to Mount Everest reported finding these unusual footprints.
They did.
His Sherpa guides attributed them to the Metoka Kangmi.
What does that even mean?
It translates to man-bear snowman,
Okay.
but it was a journalist writing under the pen name Kim
Interesting.
who really gave birth to the abominable snowman we know today.
So how did a man-bear snowman become abominable?
Well, through a bit of linguistic mischief, I guess you could say.
What do you mean?
The journalist took some liberties with the translation,
Oh.
twisting mito, which means man-bear, into filthy, and ultimately replacing it with abominable. And just like that, this legendary monster was born, all thanks to a creative translation.
Talk about the power of words, huh?
I know, right?
It really makes you wonder how much our perception of the Yeti has been shaped by that catchy
Yeah.
but somewhat terrifying name.
A little bit, yeah.
But names aside, has anyone actually seen a Yeti?
That's the question, isn't it?
Our sources mention several intriguing accounts.
Yeah.
Some dating back centuries.
That's right. One of the earliest recorded sightings
Oh,
comes
go
from
ahead.
1832, when B.H. Hodgson in Nepal described encountering a creature initially thought to be an orangutan.
But could it have been something else?
Maybe.
And then there's N.A. Tombazi's detailed account from 1925.
Yes.
He saw a human-like figure against the snow, pulling at plants.
Wow.
I mean, you can practically picture it, can't you?
You really can. And these early accounts, while lacking photographic evidence, they laid the foundation for this whole Yeti legend. And remember, these were experienced mountaineers familiar with the Himalayan wildlife, yet they still saw something they couldn't explain.
It's like the Yeti knows how to stay just out of reach,
Yeah.
In 1937, John Hunt, who later led the first successful Everest expedition, found footprints attributed to a pair of Yetis.
Really?
The mystery deepens.
Wow. And the details of those footprints,
Yeah.
they really capture the imagination.
I bet.
Take C.R. Cook's encounter in 1944.
Okay.
He measured huge E footprints, 14 inches from heel to toe,
Whoa.
with a unique toe arrangement.
Wow.
He even compared them to his sunglasses for scale, which is
Yeah.
a detail that really sticks with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of iconic footprints, we can't forget Eric Shipton's famous 1951 photographs, often cited as some of the best evidence we have for the Yeti's existence.
Those photos with the pickaxe for scale,
Yeah,
they've been analyzed and debated for decades.
I bet.
Some researchers argue that the footprints could have been distorted by melting snow, making them appear larger and more unusual than they really were. Others suggest that the prints could indicate a condition called macrodactyly,
What's that?
basically an abnormally large toe,
How?
which might explain the unusual shape.
Okay.
Either way, they remain a tantalizing piece of the puzzle.
They do. Even Edmund Hillary, the first man to summit Mount Everest,
Wow, yeah.
reported seeing Yeti footprints, though he later became more skeptical.
It just goes to show that even the most experienced mountaineers can be fooled by those harsh conditions and the power suggestion.
Yeah.
The Himalayas are full of illusions and tricks of the light,
Right.
making it easy to misinterpret what you see, especially when you're looking for something extraordinary.
That's true. And to add another layer of intrigue here,
Yeah.
there's a mountaineer Don Willen's account from 1970.
Oh, yeah.
He claimed to have seen a creature moving on all fours, which seems to contradict the classic bipedal description.
Right.
Could there be multiple types of Yeti?
Maybe. Or are we dealing with something else entirely?
That's a good question.
It's a question that has plagued researchers for decades, you know?
Yeah.
Is the Yeti one creature,
Yeah.
or many? Is it a primate? A bear? A combination of misidentified animals, or something truly unknown?
Yeah.
To get closer to an answer, I think we need to delve into the theories that attempt to explain the Yeti phenomenon,
Okay.
separating myth from potential reality.
All right, so let's dive into those theories then.
Yep.
Could the Yeti simply be a case of mistaken identity?
That's what we'll explore next.
Okay.
We'll look at the most common explanations,
Okay.
from misidentified animals to elaborate hoaxes,
Right.
and see if any of them hold up under scrutiny.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Let's start with the most straightforward explanation.
Sure.
Misidentified animals.
Okay.
The Himalayas are home to a variety of creatures
Right.
that could, under certain circumstances, be mistaken for a Yeti.
So we're talking bears, monkeys, maybe even some unusual-looking mountain goats.
Exactly. The Himalayan brown bear, for example.
Yeah.
Large, powerful animal, can walk on both 2 legs and 4.
Oh, really?
Langur monkeys are known to inhabit high-altitude regions
Right.
and could be glimpsed, through the trees, their long limbs and dark fur creating, this startling silhouette.
Oh, wow.
And then there's the Tibetan blue bear,
Okay.
a relatively rare species that's known to be quite aggressive.
Oh, so I can see how a fleeting glimpse of one of these animals, like in the mist or the snow, could easily be misinterpreted,
Yeah.
especially if you're already expecting to see something unusual.
Precisely. Our brains, they tend to fill in the gaps, especially when we're dealing with limited information and a healthy dose of fear or excitement.
That's true, but what about those stories of Yetis, like attacking livestock or leaving behind those strange footprints? Surely bears and monkeys can't account for all of that, can they?
Well, that's where I guess the hoaxers come in.
Okay.
Throughout history, people have been fascinated by the idea of
Right.
unknown creatures,
Okay.
and some have taken advantage of that fascination for their own gain.
Oh, okay.
Remember James Randi, the famous skeptic?
Yeah.
He often pointed out how easy it is to fake Yeti evidence,
Oh, really?
especially in remote, snowy landscapes.
So we're talking elaborate ape costumes, cleverly blended footprints, maybe even staged encounters designed to fool unsuspecting travelers.
It's a reminder that not everything is as it seems,
Right.
And sometimes the most outlandish explanations are actually the simplest ones.
But even with the misidentifications and hoaxes taken into account, there are still those accounts that just, leave you scratching your head.
Right.
What about the scientific theories,
Yeah.
Could there be a real undiscovered creature behind the Yeti legend?
There are some fascinating theories out there. That attempt to explain the Yeti using science rather than folklore.
Okay.
One intriguing theory comes from Reinhold Messner,
Who's that?
a legendary mountaineer who spent years exploring the Himalayas.
Oh, wow.
He proposed that the Yeti is actually the endangered Himalayan brown bear,
Okay.
but with a twist.
A twist. What kind of twist?
Messner argued that these bears, which are known to walk on both 2 legs and 4,
Right.
have a unique way of moving in deep snow. They often stand upright and slide their hind legs forward,
Okay.
creating like this peculiar gait
Yeah.
that could easily be mistaken for a bipedal creature.
Oh, interesting.
This theory could explain those sightings where the Yeti is described as both bipedal and quadrupedal,
Okay.
and it's gained some traction within the scientific community.
That's pretty clever.
Yeah.
It shows how, like, a familiar animal can behave in unexpected ways,
Yeah,
especially in challenging environments like that.
exactly.
What other, like, scientific explanations are there?
Well, remember those iconic Yeti footprints?
Yeah.
Researchers Daniel Taylor and Robert Fleming, they came up with a fascinating theory to explain them.
Okay.
What if they weren't from a bipedal creature at all,
Hmm.
but from young Asiatic black bears?
So bears leaving behind human-like footprints? How is that possible?
Well, Taylor and Fleming observed that young black bears in the Himalayas
Yeah.
spend a lot of time climbing trees,
Okay.
which, develops their opposable grip.
Right.
They theorized that this grip, combined with the way bears walk, could create footprints that appear surprisingly human-like.
Wow.
And their research actually led to the creation of vast protected areas in the Himalayas,
Really?
safeguarding both the bears and the mysteries that they embody.
That's amazing. It's a reminder that sometimes the pursuit of a legend can lead to real-world conservation efforts,
Absolutely.
even if the creature itself turns out to be something familiar.
Yeah.
But what about DNA evidence?
Right.
Hasn't there been, like, testing done on supposed Yeti samples?
There has.
Okay.
And the results have been both exciting and disappointing.
Oh, really?
Initial tests on a hair sample, conducted by Professor Brian Sykes,
Okay.
suggested an unknown creature,
Whoa.
sparking a flurry of excitement.
Yeah.
However, further research revealed that the sample belonged to a polar bear,
Oh, wow.
highlighting the importance of careful analysis
Oh, hey.
and the potential for contamination in these types of studies.
It's like a scientific roller coaster.
It really is.
But there's been, like, more recent DNA analysis, right?
There has.
What did that reveal?
In 2017, a study using mitochondrial DNA, mtDNA,
Okay.
which is passed down through the maternal line, analyzed a collection of purported Yeti samples,
Okay.
including hair, bone, and teeth.
And the verdict, was it a Yeti?
Well, the results were quite definitive.
Okay.
The study linked the samples to known bear species in the region, including the Himalayan brown bear and the Tibetan brown bear.
So, does that mean the mystery is solved?
Oh,
Is the Yeti just a bear after all?
not so fast.
Okay.
Remember, absence of evidence is not evidence of absence.
Right.
Just because we haven't found conclusive proof of a unique Yeti species doesn't mean it couldn't exist.
There's always that sliver of possibility, that what if, that
Right.
keeps the legend alive.
Yeah.
And I have to ask, what about Gigantopithecus?
Oh, right.
That extinct giant ape sounds like something straight out of a monster movie.
It does. Gigantopithecus
Yeah.
certainly captures the imagination.
Yeah,
And it's definitely a contender for the coolest sounding extinct creature award.
definitely.
But
Great.
most scientists believe that Gigantopithecus, while massive, was quadrupedal,
Okay.
meaning it walked on all fours.
Right.
This doesn't quite fit, those typical Yeti descriptions which emphasize bipedalism.
So it's a long shot, but still, it's a fun one to consider.
I agree.
So with all these theories and explanations swirling around, where does that leave us?
Right.
What's the takeaway from all this?
I think the most important takeaway is that the Yeti phenomenon highlights this complex relationship between science, folklore, and human perception. We have this enduring legend fueled by intriguing sightings and cultural beliefs.
Right.
And then we have science attempting to unravel the truth,
Yeah.
often with surprising and unexpected results.
And sometimes the pursuit of the answer is just as fascinating as the answer itself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a good reminder,
Yeah,
that there's still a sense of wonder and mystery in the world,
absolutely.
even in this age of, like,
Right.
information overload.
I agree. And the Yeti,
Yeah.
whether real or imagined,
Right.
embodies that sense of wonder
It does.
perfectly. It's a creature
Yeah.
that has captured the imagination of cultures
For centuries.
for centuries and continues to inspire
Yeah.
explorers, scientists, storytellers alike.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we've journeyed through descriptions, historical accounts, intriguing sightings,
Right.
a whole range of explanations.
Oh, yeah.
From the mundane to the extraordinary. What does it all mean? Where do we land on the Yeti?
Well, after all this,
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say that the evidence for a unique, undiscovered Yeti species
Yeah.
remains inconclusive.
Okay.
We've seen how misidentifications, hoaxes,
Right.
natural phenomena can play tricks on our perceptions,
Yeah.
and how science can often provide those more down-to-earth explanations
Yeah.
for the seemingly inexplicable.
But that doesn't mean we should just dismiss the Yeti entirely.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
The Yeti is more than just a creature.
Yeah.
It's a symbol of our enduring fascination
Mm-hmm.
with the unknown.
Right.
The possibility that there are still secrets hidden in those vast, unexplored corners of our planet.
And there's something like
Okay.
incredibly alluring about that idea.
There is.
That there are still creatures out there just waiting to be discovered.
Yeah.
Their existence whispered in legends and glimpsed in fleeting moments.
It speaks to our innate curiosity,
Hmm.
our desire to explore, to push the boundaries of what we know and what we think is possible.
So what do you think? Is the Yeti a bear, a hoax, an undiscovered creature,
I think maybe.
or something else entirely?
Perhaps the Yeti represents a little bit of all of those things.
Yeah.
It's like a tapestry woven from threads of folklore, scientific inquiry, human perception, and I think the beauty lies in the ongoing exploration, the constant questioning,
Right.
and the possibility that the answer might be more complex and nuanced than we ever imagined.
It's like a puzzle with missing pieces,
Exactly.
In each new discovery, whether it supports or debunks the legend, just adds another layer to the story.
I agree. And I
Yeah.
think the Yeti serves as like this powerful reminder
Okay.
that we should always approach the unknown with both a sense of wonder
Yeah.
and a healthy dose of skepticism.
Well said. And if this deep dive has sparked your own curiosity, we encourage you to explore further.
Yeah.
There are countless books, documentaries, and research papers out there. It's like waiting to be discovered,
Yeah.
delve
Sure.
into the history, the science, and the cultural significance of the Yeti. And perhaps you'll come to your own conclusions about this enduring enigma.
Exactly.
Who knows, maybe you'll even be inspired to embark on your own expedition to the Himalayas,
Right.
seeking answers among those snowy peaks and icy winds.
And remember, even if the Yeti turns out to be a familiar creature in disguise, the journey itself,
Well,
the
yeah.
exploration, the questioning, the pursuit of knowledge, that's its own reward.
That is true. We've had a blast delving into the world of the Yeti,
We have.
and we hope you've enjoyed the journey with us. But before we sign off,
Yeah.
here's one last thought to ponder.
Okay.
If the Yeti, a creature so deeply ingrained in folklore and popular culture,
Right.
could potentially be explained by misidentification or natural phenomena, what other undiscovered creatures might be lurking in the shadows, just waiting for us to unravel their secrets?
Oh, good question.
Keep exploring, keep questioning, and never lose that sense of wonder.
Don't.
Until next time, fellow deep divers.